Alabama takes somebody from Auburn, but it's not who a lot of people thought it might be.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. I want to thank you every day for watching every day. You know why? Because you have made the Locked On Sports Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network there is on the planet, and we're a part of it, and we appreciate you. Jimmy, Alabama went out and hired a new wide receivers coach. He is a very familiar name, Derek Nix, who was at Auburn as a co-offensive coordinator in some weird sister wives setup they had over there where like 9 people called plays depending on the situation. But soon as they got rid of Freeze and soon as Nick started calling plays, things looked up a little bit. And Derek Nix, for those who don't remember, played at Southern Miss in the 90s. He was really incredible. He was the first Conference USA player to rush for like 1,000 yards in 3 straight seasons or something. Wow. He was recruited by Alabama and a lot of schools out of Etowah and Etowah County, but he as a linebacker, and he wanted to play running back, so good for him. And he went to Southern Miss and did good things. He's in the Southern Miss Hall of Fame, and he is known as a very strong recruiter. And he has ties to this state, and he loves him some Mississippi. In fact, Stephen Willis with Locked On Rebels or Locked On Ole Miss, I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's Locked On Ole Miss. He told me yesterday on the squad show, he said, man, that guy's going to do some really good work for y'all in the state of Mississippi, which is, by the way, a place that we haven't like been hitting home runs of late. We used to do a lot of work there. Yeah, you got your AK Deers. Yeah, you got Nolan Wilson this year. But, you know, you miss somebody like a Caleb Cunningham and things like that. Regardless, I think this is a very nice hire, and I'm excited about it. And he also has some ties to Kane Womack, which I think breeds some familiarity. So I think this is a home run. Well, I don't want to be hyperbolic. I think this is a solid triple.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as you're hiring a wide receiver coach, I would be fine with calling it a home run or a triple either way. I think, first of all, what you're looking for in a coach, a couple of things. No one's ever going to be the perfect candidate, the best. And, Brian Hartline was probably the best wide receiver coach in college football. Now he's going to be a head coach at South Florida. I think, first of all, what you're looking for is a recruiter. That box is checked. Derek Nix is an outstanding, proven recruiter in the old world and the new world. I mean, this is a guy who's going to understand the new landscape. He was just at Auburn. They recruit fairly well when things were going right before they fired Hugh Freeze. His group in particular. I mean, his group at Auburn: Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, Malcolm Simmons. This cat was, he's a good recruiter. Plus all the good work he did at Ole Miss recruiting. Secondly, what I really like about him in terms of bringing a mind to the offensive staff room, this guy has coached running backs, receivers, and tight ends in his career, and he's been a co-OC. He's even been a play caller. So he has a global understanding of offense. This isn't just a one-position cat. I mean, he knows how offense works. He's ran an offense. I think that's great. So I'm super excited here. Now it's all about Derek Nix getting to campus. No, he's not going to coach the playoff games, and that's fine. What he needs to start doing, though, is developing relationships he doesn't already have. He's already got a relationship with Ced Morgan because he was recruiting him to Auburn. So, and Ced Morgan made a tweet that made it look like, hey, I'm totally happy about this. I think that Ryan, he's got to get in with Ryan and Zay Horton and Rico Scott and Lotsier Brooks. He doesn't even know Lotsier Brooks. He's got to quickly make a relationship with those kids because those are players Alabama doesn't want to get in the portal. The Alabama receivers, they do not want anywhere near the portal because you have to worry about that a little bit. They lost their coach, and Jamarcus Shepard. They like him. Derek Nix has to get in, keep Ryan out of the portal, keep Zay out of the portal. Lotsier Brooks, again, he doesn't know him. Auburn wasn't involved with him. So I think those are critical things. But Derek Nix has been doing this a long time. I love this hire. I think it's exactly who Alabama wants. Sounds to me like Alabama targeted one guy and they got him. Mute.
Sorry.
It's playoff week without you. What we
It's
can't
a playoff week.
We can't play without that. It's good karma.
It is good karma. I didn't mute the last time we played Oklahoma, so I mean, maybe that was a problem. I really like the hire too. Now, Tyrone Nix is his brother, who is really my age, and Derek Nix is like only 45. I think he was born in 80. So he might be 46 now. I don't know.
I'm so old. I remember Derek Nix as a running back.
Oh, I do too, because we played him a lot.
Yeah.
And Auburn did too. So he was a dude. And like I said, it's just in his blood. I'm very pro this. Now, like you said, Cedarian Morgan did tweet the googly eyes or whatever they are, that emoji. And when he did it, and I think a lot of people have either read into it, like you said, hey, I really approve of this hire, or could somebody be leaving Auburn and following Nix to Alabama? I think that is a possibility. I'm going to go on record and say I don't think Malcolm Simmons nor Cam Coleman ends up at Bama. I think probably for the same reasons. I think that Malcolm is going to end up somewhere. I mean, I'm taking a bit of an educated guess, somewhere like in Indiana, and they're going to, treat him and pay him like a number one receiver. And I think if Cam doesn't go back to Auburn, and I do feel like they're going to do all they can to keep him within reason, then I think Cam will go somewhere that he knows, I'm the man. It could be a Lane Kiffin in LSU. I mean, they would have an opening for that. I mean, a one-year guy while they try and get other dudes like Corey Barber and maybe some other transfers from Ole Miss acclimated, that you get a guy that's already been in the SEC so long, that would be something. And then when Lane Kiffin and LSU and say Cam Coleman traveled to Auburn this year, good Lord. Craziness.
I like that Cam Coleman to LSU thing. I think that could happen. I'm with you, Luke. I think you're right. I would not bet on any of those Auburn receivers who are really, really good. I don't think any of them will follow Derek Nix to Alabama, just simply for this reason. The name of the game in recruiting right now is asset allocation. You have this certain number of assets. That's all you have, and you have to spend it wisely. At wide receiver next year, you've got Ryan Williams, you've got Isaiah Horton, you've got Lotsier Brooks, even Rico Scott. You got to pay a little bit to keep him around. Spending even more money than that at wide receiver means you are short somewhere else. I think asset allocation alone. Now, what if Malcolm Simmons was like, I just want a spot at Alabama and I want to keep playing for Derek Nix and all I want is a spot and a scholarship? Okay, well, of course you take that. But I think Malcolm Simmons and certainly Cam Coleman, they're just too good for that. They're going to want to be paid their market value. And I don't think Alabama's just set at wide receiver. If it was another position, sure. That position looks solid. A game changer, though, would be one of Alabama's highly paid receivers entering the portal, because that frees up money and means you probably got to go get a receiver.
And frankly, I know everybody falls all over themselves over Cam Coleman, and they should. He can be incredible. And maybe this is the homer in me. I'm not so sure Malcolm and Cam have a bigger gap as you think. I think Malcolm's a lot better than people know, because I don't think he got the opportunities he should have.
Cam isn't a great separator. He's not a great separator. Cam Coleman.
Cam is sort of C.D. Morgan.
Yeah, he's got great hands. I mean, phenomenal hands. And he's a contested catch monster. It's exactly as I would describe Sed Morgan. But I don't see a lot of tape of Cam Coleman running free through secondaries. Malcolm, I do. Malcolm does. Malcolm is open. Cam, I'm not so sure. So that's a great point. And I do think that with Cam Coleman, you got to know exactly what you're getting. Malcolm, I agree with you, Luke. He's probably undervalued out there. And gosh knows, Malcolm Simmons, of all those great receivers at Auburn, one of them kind of ripped up Alabama a little bit. It was Malcolm, not Simpson or Coleman.
But I'll say this, if we could make it work financially, I would love to have either one of those guys.
Oh, heck yeah, they're great.
So,
They're very good players. Both of them are very good players. And the strength of Auburn's team this past year was no doubt the wide receiver core. The defense was better than the offense, but the strength of Auburn's team was those wideouts. And now we got their wideout coach.
yeah. So that's not for nothing. You know, that's got to mean something. How about we welcome Rocket Money back in? I want to do that. Like Rocket Money, man, they're a big deal. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. Does for me. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly these numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances. Because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save time and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. Seeing all your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. I love how Rocket Money automatically builds budgets based on past spending. It keeps you on track without overthinking it. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Go do that today and be thanking Jimmy later, because that is a Jimmy Stein guarantee. Okay, so we like the Derek Nix thing. That is one addition. Another addition that came through to Alabama yesterday is Josh Ford, a tight end, big tight end from Oklahoma State. Again, got some vibes like some of the tight ends we brought in from the transfer portal last year that have frankly not done much. Whereas big, maybe even almost plotting and blockers, not necessarily known for catching. This Josh Ford does have, I think, more stats than say the cat from West Virginia last year. But and I'm fine with it. I'm on board with it. I think this is a bargain. He's got experience. They obviously feel like they need another tight end. And it's kind of funny. I've neglected to mention this yesterday on the podcast, and I had it in my head. But, you know, we keep kind of making fun of this staff for getting all these tight ends. Well, Josh Cuevas has been hurt. Danny Lewis has been – like all the tight ends we want to use have been hurt. Maybe they were onto something.
Yeah, I feel a little differently about Josh Ford. I don't know about excited, because I'm never going to get excited about an inline blocking tight end. That's like getting excited about a guard. You know, and of course you want to get excited when you bring in a guard. You know, some guards are, you know, Chance Warmack. But Josh Ford is, I think, I'll start with a big headline here. If I had to pick right now, like who's the starting tight end versus East Carolina next September, I go Josh Ford. I think he's huge, you know, 265. What I love most about the fact that they targeted Josh Ford and went and got him quickly is I've taught this year the offseason priority for Alabama is running the football. That Alabama's got to run the ball better than they did this year. That's the number one priority this offseason. Best way to run the football, get bigger and stronger at tight end. I mean, you ran the ball okay last year with C.J. Dupree and Robbie Oost. They're gone, and you replace them with Josh Cuevas, who's really an H. He's not even a Y in terms of the type of tight end he is. So now they've gone out and got a Y. Josh Ford is just a good fit in terms of if you want to run the football. Again, this guy's 265. When Oklahoma State signed him, Mike Gundy told people he's going to be our starting tight end. He's probably going to weigh 275. I mean, this is a big kid that they thought would stick at tight end. Then they end up flexing him out. By the way, he lined up wide 1/3 of snaps he played. Josh Ford started 7 games as a true freshman in the Big 12. That's significant. That's significant off the bus stuff. I know it's the Big 12. It's not the SEC, but he was an immediate true freshman starter. The starting tight end this year as a sophomore, it's just, they don't throw the ball to the tight end a lot. But why would you throw the ball to your 265-pound tight end anyway? Secondly, once they fired Gundy, he went to the staff and said, I want a red shirt this year to preserve my year of eligibility, because he clearly, in the moment they were firing Mike Gundy, he's like, I'm going in the portal. So I think Josh Ford will be a major contender to be a starter next fall. You lose Cuevas. Danny Lewis's health, it just can't really be counted on. Unfortunately, feel terrible for Danny Lewis. He just can't get healthy and play. You lose Brody Dalton. So, you're actually needing a tight end. Now you've only got Edwards, Pritchett, Marshall, Max Sutter's coming in, but he's a freshman tight end. We've seen that freshman tight ends this year haven't been a massive asset for Alabama. It's just kind of a make-do thing at tight end. But I think Josh Ford at 265, and my comp for him, I think he's a very similar player to C.J. Dupree. If anything, add 10 or 12 pounds, and I think this is step one in improving the run game is a 265-pound, pretty experienced tight end coming in from the Big 12.
Yeah, again, I'm not against this. I don't want people to think that. It's just it's not moving the meter a ton. And then when you factor in he's got sort of a wavy kind of mullet and bright orange hair, it just sort of it's just sort of weird. I mean, I don't know.
A hulking redhead tight end. It reminds me of, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the guy from the north with all the red hair?
Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah.
Someone in the comments, or maybe Luke can remember, is going to have to remember the name, his character name on Game of Thrones. I have no idea what it is. I mean, I remember. I don't remember what his character name is. That's what we need to nickname this cat. Psycho, red-headed monster from the north.
I wish he was playing center. Then he could be a ginger snap. How about that?
Oof.
That was terrible. Oof. I know. Sorry.
I like the Thrones thing better.
So I wanted to bring up something else. So CBS came out with ranking the best 25 players in the college football playoff. And meanwhile, simultaneously, ESPN came out with the 2026 NFL draft tiers for every college football team. The reason I bring this up is because there really is, it feels like these are polar opposites and they shouldn't be. For the 25 best players, and on CBS, the number one best player they have, Fernando Mendoza. Come on now. I know he just won the Heisman, and look, I'm fine with that. You're going to tell me you think Fernando Mendoza is better than Caleb Downs or Jeremiah Smith or Jacob Rodriguez or Cassius Howell or Reuben Bain. I mean, I just feel like that's a little silly. But the reason I bring it up is because I've named a bunch of guys. I'm looking at 10 and 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and 17 and 20 and 22. I don't get to an Alabama player until number 23. And that's Ty Simpson.
With Ty Post getting banged up against Missouri, I have a hard time justifying saying Ty Simpson's the best player at Alabama. Mid-season, Ty Simpson arguably was the best player on the football team at Alabama, and maybe he can be that guy again now that he's finally had some rest. But today, like straight up, you asked me, like, who is the best football player at Alabama at this moment? I would say it's Caden Proctor or Parker Brailsford if Brailsford's healthy from his high ankle sprain. Oh, muted again, which means you're serious about the playoff.
It could be Jeremy Bernard.
Serious about the playoff. You had 2 mutes, Oklahoma week. Dude, that's your game.
I'm on my game. It could be the best player could be Jeremy Bernard if the guy who they have listed weren't hurt and not able to get him the ball as much. By the way, some guys have said in the comments about a few things like, you two are harping on Ty being hurt way too much. I don't think we're harping on it enough because just because he's not on that availability report, I'm telling y'all, Jimmy and I do know some things, and I'm telling you, the man's been through the ringer, so I think we need to cut him a tiny bit of slack. Now, let me go over to what ESPN said for the 2026 tiers. What's interesting, if my numbers are right and my memory of history is correct, if ESPN's right, Alabama would set a record for number of players drafted based on this list. They have, round 1 tier would be Simpson,
Matt Miller. Isn't this Matt Miller?
Oh gosh, I wish you hadn't asked me.
Yeah.
It was Matt Miller. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, Matt's really good at the job. So
he is good. So round one, they have Simpson and Bernard and Proctor. Round two, Overton, Hubbard, and Horton. So two guys we kind of hope don't go pro. Then round three is Brailsford and Sabb. Again, two guys we kind of hope don't go pro. Round four is Damani Jackson, Jan Miller, Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, and Jaden Roberts. Round five is Cuevas. Round seven is Dewberry and Nakai Greenhill. I think that would set a record for most people drafted by one team in 1 year. And you go back to the CBS thing, they've only got one guy in their top 25 players. That's weird to me.
No, that's a great point and a great. I like Matt Miller a lot. He's one of the best in the business. I'm guilty every year of a little, when I project Alabama in the draft, I tend to slightly over project. It doesn't work out quite as well as I predict. Yet Matt Miller has gone farther than I would.
Yeah.
I would not. First of all, I think some of those guys are going to return to school. And in part because I don't think their draft stock is actually, that
as high as he says
for a couple of those guys. But I say that complimenting Matt Miller. I think he's one of the absolute best. He does the homework. He's got good connections. He knows the stuff really well. I think I put Matt Miller in the same category as I would put Kuiper and Daniel Jeremiah, DJ from NFL Network. Matt Miller's very good, but I'll use Isaiah Horton as an example, Luke. He has, I think, Zay going in the second round. Wide receivers that are drafted top 50, top 60 picks in the draft, they tend to fit in one of two categories. They're hugely productive 1,000-yard guys, or they're freaks in Indianapolis. They measure out like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we're looking for, size and speed wise. Zay Horton is neither one of those guys. So I have a hard time believing he would be drafted that high without the production or the freak measurables to back it up. That said, you can tell Matt Miller watches tape because when you watch Zay Horton play football, you say that's an NFL football player because he is a possession receiver extraordinaire, and he's so good in the red zone. So I think Zay is going to be a great NFL player or a good NFL player. I would just be a little surprised that he's a round two guy today.
Also want to welcome in Wayfair. The holidays always show up faster than we expect. And if you're still putting together gifts, last minute decor, or getting some home ready, or getting your home ready, or some home, either way, ready for guests, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need and fast. Wayfair is truly your one-stop shop for everything home with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style, every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. No massive delivery fees, no stress. It's the best way to get your home holiday ready without running around to different stores like a sucker. Get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, so the availability report came out. We've alluded to it somewhat, and I did a crossover episode which will air tomorrow with the Oklahoma guys, and we were sort of at a standoff with it because they're like, oh, well, Jam Miller's going to play. He's not even on there, and Ty Simpson's not even on there. But R. Mason Thomas is on. By the way, R. Mason Thomas, the R is a singular letter. It's not even a singular letter with a period. It is a singular letter because that is a family tradition. That's the coolest. You've got to be a family of badasses to say, we're just going to give him one letter. That's it.
Well, his first name is R. Mason. It's not like Mason's not a middle name. It's his first name. But
R is the name.
But there's no hyphen between R and Mason.
No.
It's
no
just
nothing.
First name, R. Mason.
R. Mason.
R. Mason with a space in between the R and that is badass. This needs to be a new national trend.
Oh, I'm with you.
I'm waiting on R. Jimmy.
My dad had an aunt named Exa Emma, and that has nothing to do with anything, but that's the closest thing I've got to R. Mason Thomas.
I don't know. Maybe it sound like, hey, I respect the heck out of that guy. Major disruptor, and unfortunately for Alabama, he's going to be a significant factor in the game. Heck of a matchup for Caden Proctor, Michael Carroll, and the tight ends. I mean, you're going to have to try to block him with more than one guy at times. He's a game changer. He's a disruptor. We did not face him the first. He was hurt. He missed the first Alabama-Oklahoma game. He's going to be a factor on Friday night. There's no doubt about it. Reminds me a lot of former Auburn disruptor Carl Lawson. I think he's a real similar player to Carl Lawson, similar size. And then Carl Lawson was a pretty good NFL player.
Yeah, it's, look, it's just one of those things. We kind of deserve, if you ask me, I think this is like Rocky going to play Ivan Drago, going to fight Ivan Drago in Russia. He's like, look, the only way that I can make this right is to go to Oklahoma and you have R. Mason Thomas. That's the only way I can exercise the demons of your coming into Tuscaloosa and beating us at a time when if we win that game, we're hosting a playoff game.
That's
and
right.
You're out. You're out.
The result of that game did flip. I'm not saying we'd be playing Oklahoma, but there's
we
no
wouldn't
doubt.
be. They'd be out, Jimmy.
Yet they would be out and Alabama would be hosting.
Correct.
If you flipped it around and Alabama beat Oklahoma, then Oklahoma's out. Alabama loses to Georgia in Atlanta. Alabama will be in the playoff and hosting. But you lose to Oklahoma, and that's what literally put Oklahoma in and Alabama on the road.
Yeah, so I feel like this is the way it should be. Hopefully we're in a shack in Siberia doing sit-ups and punching hanging meat or whatever Rocky did, because that's what it's going to take. This is going to be a very difficult thing for us, but it's certainly not impossible. Anybody else, anything else on the injury report that stand out to you? Josh Cuevas being questionable. But it felt like Ryan Grubb alluded to the fact that, hey, it's been good to have him back out there. And I was like, that's an interesting way to put it.
He's practicing, but he's limited. I would still, I'm less optimistic than Ryan Grubb is, but I admit Ryan Grubb knows better than I would. And so let's be optimistic along with Ryan Grubb on Cuevas. I think the availability report was about as good as to be expected. Here's the good news as far as I'm concerned. I was told, let's call this an off-the-record source, and I'm about to say something that was off the record, and I'll tell you why in a second. An off-the-record source told me this is the healthiest Alabama's been since midseason, but it was off the record, so I couldn't come on here and tell you guys that he said that. But then Womack said it during the press conference. So now I'm free to say it because it's already been put out there by Alabama's coaches. It was said that, hey, this is the healthiest we've been in weeks. So, yeah, that's the great news. This is the healthiest, not that Alabama's healthier than it was against Georgia and Atlanta, but the healthiest Alabama's been in weeks. So I think the availability report went as well as expected. Yes, LT Overton's out. I don't think Overton would be back for any of the playoffs. Maybe we'll see if you advance. But
could Overton come back next year or no?
The answer is a qualified maybe. I want to get too into the injury type situation that he has, but he's out of eligibility. But I do think there's a possibility he could ask for a waiver to play an additional year. That's something that would be granted. But that said, I don't expect that to happen at all. I think Overton's going to finish up, get healthy, and then enter the NFL draft where he will be, in my opinion, probably a day 2 pick, which would justify him coming out being round 2, 3. I'm not sure where Matt Miller just had him in that projection.
I think he had him in round 3, but unless the health issue, it scares some GMs off. But here's the thing. If you're going to ask for those things, now's the time to do it. It's like if you've got a rich uncle and he's usually a jackass, but when he's drunk, he's super nice, you better go ask him to borrow some money when he's drunk. And right now the NCAA is drunk.
I think, look, if TJ Finley can petition the NCAA for a 7th year of eligibility so he can play at his 7th school in 7 years, if he can do that with a straight face, now's the time. I don't understand why like Phillip Rivers, I know he's going to start for the Colts again Monday night, but Phillip Rivers might as well say, can I play at NC State a couple of games? Can I go back to college and play for the Wolfpack again for a couple of games? Because the NCAA is apparently granting waivers to anybody. So in that sense, LT would have a much better case for it than I think TJ Finley does playing year 7. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think LT will be moving on to the NFL. That would be my guess as to what happens. But regardless, hey, the availability report was good news. The only player that's on the availability report as questionable to me that's a big story is Josh Cuevas. And it looks better for Cuevas today. As we recorded this on Wednesday, I'm more optimistic today than I was when we recorded our first, Oklahoma show this week on Monday. And just having him out there would be big, but you have to assume he wouldn't be 100% if you're still not sure he's going to be able to play or not.
One final thing, not for nothing, Jay Crawford, who is Auburn's best defensive back, also got in the portal. Again, I don't think Alabama's going to be a player. I think he's going to go somewhere and probably get his million or whatever, and so be it. But it's just another thing for a permanent Alabama opponent. And, again, the more things that can happen to our permanent opponents, the better.
Yeah, again, that's position of strength for Alabama, asset allocation. When you have Xavier Brown and Dijon Lee returning a corner, you hopefully have Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb returning at safety. Red Morgan back at Husky. Even if Bray or Keon leaves, you got Zay Mincy, who's clearly ready to be a full-time starter. I think asset allocation-wise, I don't see Alabama spending big at DB. Now, might they sign a DB? Yeah, but it would be more like I think the Cam Calhoun signing from a year ago would be something along those lines. I don't think it'd be splashy like Jay Crawford, who's going to be a little pricey.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.